Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. EDDBUD here, and today I'm going to be taking a closer look at the Novablast and its competitors in the £120 price range. Before I get into that comparative shootout, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications below of when new videos are launched, and give that like button a good hard press. So this new offering from Asics has bags of character, mystique and pizzazz. Though I have to say it didn't initially bowl me over like a skittle, but I'm always willing to bend or change my views and opinions on something. You know that I have an open mind. It got me thinking how other shoes in my collection, around about the same price range, shape up against the Novablast. First shoe up is the Evoride. So you might want to call this sort of a cousin, maybe a long lost cousin or something, of the Novablast. It's certainly close in terms of weight. This one weighs about 305 grams in my UK size 11, though it's much firmer in the forefoot, across the whole of the midsole in fact. It's just standard flight foam stuff here, and there's certainly a more generous cut of the Asics high abrasion rubber. Really is quite thick actually, there's a pretty substantial amount of rubber there. I think it's about the same as on my bicycle tyres. Smells good, that stuff. It's mainly concentrated though, like cheap orange juice, in the front midfoot section of the shoe. And there's some little offcuts here at the back. There's a vastly more padded tongue here than on the Novablast. Almost stretches part way up your ankle actually when you lace the shoe up. I really don't know why they chose to put such a generous tongue. What reason could there be for it to be so high? I know some people like to use the extra eyelets here for a runner's knot, but you've still got masses of it, even above that. It's kind of a little Tony Hawk's skaterish. They're going to remaster the Tony Hawk's games, I think the first couple of games. Very odd. The Evoride does clock in a little cheaper than the Novablast, around about £10–15 I think in most places. I think if you're into a more firm ride in your running shoe with that rocker type action, if you're not a fan of that overly cushioned and very squishy midsole on the Novablast, then the Evoride could be a good option for you. It does make you realise that the main weight distribution of the Novablast is in that midsole. The Evoride's got a more considerable upper, and they're about the same weight, so clearly Flight Foam Blast is actually a relatively weighty material. Yeah, there's loads more weight here in the upper of the Evoride, so the upper on the Novablast must be much lighter. Second shoe for the shootout today is the Hoka One One Rincon. Every time I do this with the Rincon, I almost throw it into the air because it's quite light. These are next in line for a spruce up with my light brush. I think they'll actually come off pretty well. There's not too many nooks and crannies here to get into. They just need me to remove that slight discoloration, and I think they'll look a little better. Certainly one of my favourite looking shoes of the last 12 months. This shoe's vastly lighter than the Novablast actually, by about 60 grams in my UK size 11. It clocks in around about 250 grams, which is quite light really for a running shoe. It's on the money in terms of price, with it being available for around about £110 here in the UK, though I do find this shoe a tiny bit narrow in the forefoot. The Novablast is much more generous in its upper material. The Novablast doesn't clamp down so much around your forefoot, and it's certainly staying much closer in line with those social distancing rules. Yes, there is a big weight difference here with the Rincon being much lighter, but the Novablast is ultimately more forgiving underfoot. So much so that I actually stuck one of my Pegasus Turbo insoles into the Rincon. In fact, I wondered where that had gone. With the stock insole, the Rincon was a little bit too firm for me, certainly for daily use. I think I would have perhaps given up a few grams and put a much more forgiving insole in there, which is actually what I've done. I know some people call them sock liners, perhaps in the US they're known as that, but over here in the old weird UK where we do things in a strange fashion, we call them insoles. I think in terms of durability between the Rincon and the Novablast, I think the Novablast will ultimately win. There's just much more considerable rubber here on the outsole. The Rincon really does take a pounding with that exposed midsole everywhere. It really does wear away quite quickly, even the rubber sections actually. You can see in the midfoot and the forefoot there that the rubber's actually worn down pretty considerably. We know that Asics high abrasion rubber lasts the test of time. I think it's going to outlast the most hardy of substances on the outsole of a shoe, so I think really for outsole the Novablast wins over the Rincon. But at about 310 ounces, there's a big difference in terms of weight. I think if you're worried about using a 300 gram plus shoe, that Rincon's just a little bit more rock and roll for me, and the Novablast maybe a bit more drum and bass. Not sure how else to compare them. The third shoe I wanted to compare up against the Novablast is the Reebok Run Fast 2. A shoe that's again a little bit lighter than the Novablast, but has some higher pace credentials and a very similar price. This one here retails in the UK for around about £110 and weighs in about 50 grams under the Novablast. I've actually just double checked it. It's actually 65 grams lighter than the Novablast. The insole alone in this shoe weighs just under 20 grams, which is bonkers. I might do some Bowerman style experimentation with this one and switch out the insole for one of the Hokas, which is a little bit lighter, a little bit thinner, and see what performance I can get out of it then. There's such a huge range of good paced shoe options right now at round about this price range. There's superb cushion in this one as well. That Peerback's foam is really great underfoot. The Run Fast 2 has a more traditional upper and feel to the shoe itself. You got the now world famous Peerback's midsole. I really love the breathable upper on this one. It is tremendous, certainly in the warmer temperatures we have right now, and that luscious lockdown over the forefoot. Grip underfoot is also excellent, where I find that strange pod based outsole approach on the Asics Novablast a little bit weird and hard to digest. Just feels it lets it down a little. I have been enjoying the outsole on the Novablast. I have been enjoying the Novablast more and more as I run in it, but the outsole design I feel doesn't do it any favours in terms of its stability. That patterned outsole on the Run Fast 2 is vastly more road hugging than the outsole on the Asics. I find the lacing on the Run Fast 2 is the pinnacle of perfect shoestring mastery. They have a tremendous tactile feel to stay tied throughout testing tempo trials. The laces on the Novablast are kind of thin, and they did cause me a bit of discomfort closer towards my ankle, round about where I tied up the shoe. Seems to just cut through the tongue and even your fingers a little bit. You've got to spend some time lacing them. If you do it haphazardly and too fast when you're trying to get out there really quickly, you're not going to get a good lockdown. Got to spend some time lacing this one up. So, 3 alternatives to the Novablast. Which ones do I recommend? I think for tempo runs or even racing, the Run Fast 2 might be the best proposition. I find the traction vastly better, and it's just that bit more versatile for me, and it's lighter to boot. Those that want a hard-wearing shoe with a firmer ride and a similar upper feel to the Asics Novablast might be best off going for the Evoride. If you prefer that more built-up Asics upper, then this one's probably for you. And it's got some serious rubber. I find the Rincon extremely breathable upper-wise, probably the closest upper there is to the Novablast, and it's exceptionally light also, just weighing a few more grams than the Run Fast 2. I think if somebody wants a slightly wider landing zone, but not necessarily a wider upper, the Rincon could be the best bet, though you've got to contend with the very poor durability of that outsole. I think it's probably going to have the shortest durability of any of the shoes we've looked at in today's shootout. So lots of options there at this price point. If you could buy any one of those shoes, which one would it be? Let me know in the comments below. Hark, I hear a musical interlude. On my 7-mile effort earlier on today, I was listening to Playland from Johnny Marr. The first 3 tracks alone are fantastic for running. Back in the Box, Easy Money and Dynamo were just fantastic. I had a big smile on my face and I was flying along in the Novablast earlier listening to this one. I know Johnny Marr's a bit of a runner, so I have sent him a cheeky message to see if he might do a little interview with us, tell us a bit more about his running, and also talk some guitars. So do check this one out from Johnny Marr. It's called Playland. A blue vinyl copy too. Okay, that's all for me for today. Thanks for watching through to the very end. I do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications below of when new videos are launched. Give the video a thumbs up like, share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD and I'll be seeing you